Welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks. I am Jim Hobbs, and to my left or right is my carnivore co-host, Brian Damaged Forsythe of the band Kix and Rhino Bucket. Welcome back, Brian.
Back?
Yeah, welcome back. You every week you fly out someplace and go do a show, so I'm welcome back to Nashville.
Oh, okay.
But how was your trip? Because Virginia is a bipolar state. It can be hot, rain, thunder, lightning, cool off, get hot again, all within the same hour. So how was your Front Royal Warren County Fair concert?
Well, I was going to say Nashville's not much different, except it doesn't cool off. So yeah, I mean, overall the show was good. We had to wait out a storm during sound check though. But yeah, we were up there. I was tuning my guitars up, and all of a sudden the wind starts picking up, and they had these little tents. I forget what the one tent was for, because after it blew over, they never put it back up.
Was it not that important, huh?
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, the tents were rolling across and knocking chairs over, and yeah. So we had to stop, and it was a downpour, and then it straightened out, and it actually maybe cooled off a little bit, so it wasn't bad during the show. And then we had a nice cross breeze going. Well, near the end of the show, the breeze started to pick up again, which felt good. And then right about the time I was going out to put my stuff in the car, I come out the back door, and there's no lights out there. It was pitch black out there, but I could see silhouettes of all these people standing there waiting. So, I stopped and I took some photos, but as I'm standing there, I feel the droplets starting to come again. And then pretty soon it's just, and I'm trying to hurry up and get done on, the photos and stuff. And finally, when I get to my car, I'm soaking wet.
Oh.
And then I had one of those ordeals where, because I was in such a hurry to pack things up and get to the car because it was pouring down. I throw everything in the trunk and I run around and get in the door, and I close the door and I'm like, oh, and my hair is soaked. And I had my little iPad case, which obviously has my iPad, but I also throw my phone and stuff in there. So I went to get my phone so I could hook it up to my the Waze app to get back to my sister's house.
Right.
And my phone's not in there, and I'm like, oh, maybe I left it in the trunk. So I had to get back out, look in the trunk. I can't find it anywhere. I'm like, maybe I left it inside.
Oh,
so
no.
I know I was feeling like just scattered. So I ran back in. It wasn't in there. And the nice ladies that were the catering ladies, the one lent me her little keychain with a flashlight, and I retraced my steps. But long story short, I ended up having to get a better flashlight, and I was looking under the car on the path to the car, but the whole time, and they lent me an umbrella finally too, because it was pouring down rain. The ground was soaked, but eventually I found it.
Now, where was it?
Obviously, I found it.
Where was it?
It was in my suitcase. Like, I packed my suitcase. So I basically I was sort of rummaging through trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. So I had to just pull everything out in my trunk. And the very bottom of my suitcase were my cowboy boots laying in the corners. I picked up one cowboy boot, and there's my phone underneath it. I'm like,
when did I get there?
Yeah, how did I must have just thrown it into my suitcase as I was changing and just threw everything on top of it and just didn't realize it. So anyway, that was kind of unnerving. I hate when stuff like that happens, because I usually, I'm really good at putting stuff in this place that it's supposed to be so I don't lose it, especially traveling.
Right. Well, hey, at least you found the phone. At least it's not a horror story that, you left it outside, people stomped on it, it got rained on. You have your phone, all is good.
Yeah, well, that was going through my mind the whole time. It was like, okay, what's on the phone? Like, at least there's the cloud now. So a lot of the stuff transfers over to my iPad, but Yeah, like my photos and all that, because otherwise I'd be like, oh man,
Yeah.
like
Losing your phone.
years of photos.
Yeah. Thank God for the cloud, because, at least when you used to lose your phone or lose your camera, it was gone. But now that the cloud's able to back up, you're able to get a new phone and just download it like it's the old phone. So it's all,
Yeah.
it's all good. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good show. Sorry you got wet, but it's what Virginia does to people. We'll get you hot, humid, and soak you. So, but let's turn it over to what's happening in the keto carnivore world. We were lucky enough to have Dr. Robert Kiltz with us last Friday night, and
Yeah, that
wow,
was cool.
he is cool. He's a firecracker. And for those who may be blocking off October 2nd, Sunday, October 2nd, for the Maryland Institute of Music Chili Cook-Off fundraiser, we are also going to combine our event with Rick's event. And so that will be starting. I don't think we've come up with a time. Brian, I've talked about starting it at 10 a.m. an hour before that event starts, but then we may do it afterwards or during it, but details will follow. But the good news is we want everybody to come out, and Dr. Kiltz is going to fly in to Hagerstown with his jet and his plane and join all of us for a day of chili and stories and sharings. It's going to be a true meetup, Keto Rocks one-day retreat this year, because if we do what I think's possible for next year, you guys are gonna be really excited. It's gonna be a little bit longer. It's gonna be with a lot of people that you guys already know, but that's a lot of logistic works to goes into that. But hopefully everybody can come out for one day. The cool thing is you guys are coming in from out of town. Brian, I think you guys are playing Maryland, Southern Maryland, the night before.
Yeah.
You know where you're playing, so people can go check you guys out or get tickets?
It's called, let me see what it's called real quick. It's in La Plata, which is out past Waldorf.
Is it on Route 5? Is that off of Route 5?
Yeah, it's called Rocktoberfest, and it's La Plata.
There you go.
If anyone's familiar with where that is.
So go check out Kix on Saturday night, and then head on up to or across, I guess, head west to Hagerstown and enjoy a day of live bands. I'm sure we'll have Rick on here at some point to kind of go over what the festivities but plan on entering your keto carnivore chili recipe. Be willing to be a participant and share your cooking expertise. Brian, maybe you could even make up a batch of your chili.
My chili?
Yeah.
I haven't actually come up with a new way of making it since I've gone carnivore. My old version was black beans.
Oh, yeah, that will disqualify you.
What was it? Black beans and sweet potatoes.
Oh yeah, you're disqualified.
Yeah, I can't go that route.
But I made Peggy makes an awesome batch of chili, which is keto carnivore friendly. So we may enter, or Peggy may enter, I should say, because her chili's really good.
What does she use? Ground beef?
She used ground beef.
Because I was thinking it would be cool to make like a brisket version.
Ooh, that would be good.
Maybe I'll try to figure that out before the time comes.
Yeah, there you go. And anyway, Rick, if you're listening, we'll talk to you. But man, we need to make Dr. Kiltz a judge, since he's flying in on his own jet to come hang out with us for the day. But all you other people who are part of his MeatTribe and the mighty tribe, come on down and join all of us. It's so cool to see that this groundswell of keto carnivore living humans is gaining traction. And there's just so many people, story after story is coming out. Brian was just sharing with me one before we hit the record button about someone who's really lost the weight, but more important, his A1C has gone in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, it's just an average guy that reached out to me on Facebook. And well, actually, it may have even been his friend that reached out to me. And then I got in touch with this guy, and he just jumped headfirst right into it, and all his numbers just straightened out. It's amazing.
No, one of the cool things was, and I didn't notice this, but people who follow me on Facebook, Peggy and I went to Jimmy Buffett Saturday night, and man, it was like 30,000 cheesehead, parrot heads, just having a blast. And what was impressive was, he played a solid 2 hours, 2.5 hours at 75 years old, not even taking. He took a 5-minute break in between, just 5-minute break to go use the bathroom, but he was right back out there and jumping. And he looked in such great shape. I mean, I almost got to think that he's got to be a carnivore. But I don't know, but whatever he's doing, it's working. But here's what I noticed, and this is what I want to share with everyone tonight. Peggy and I stood on our feet the whole time. I'd say 90% of the time. We were jumping around, dancing the whole time for the whole show. And that concrete at the Jiffy Lube Live used to be the old Nissan Pavilion amphitheater. It's probably about 30,000 people. But for the first time in my life, not in my teens, not in my 20s, for the first time in my life, I had no aches and pains. My knees didn't hurt, my legs didn't hurt. And we got home like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I started to go, wow. I said, never in my life have my knees not hurt me. And right now I'm pretty much living a carnivore lifestyle. I'm not even having peanuts. The small stuff that I do have as treats, I've cut everything out. Alcohol, chocolate, peanuts. But for the first time in my life, my legs and my knees did not hurt at all. We were there at 4:30 in the afternoon, so we tailgated, and being on your feet for a good 8 hours is just amazing. And the only thing I can contribute it to, Brian, is that the inflammation is out of my body, and because of the toxins that I take in by having seeds or processed or nuts or processed foods in the past, even when I was in my teens or my 20s, inflamed my knees. But here I am at my age, and I was painless. And so it's just a cool thing to realize that regardless of what age you are, truly food is the fuel to health for your body, and your body will respond in kind. Now, that doesn't mean eventually we're all going to be turned back to dirt, because we are. But do you want to be healthy dirt, or do you want to be dirty dirt? But I just thought that was amazing that I literally had zero aches and pains compared to even when I was in my teens and 20s. So it literally go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was going to say, it's amazing too. I noticed, because I keep it pretty clean most of the time, but even deviating just like slightly, just one little thing will do that to me. Like all of a sudden the next day I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, I'll go for my walk, and I'm like, my knee starts to cramp up or something, and it doesn't take much. I mean, even like I was sharing, one of my guilty pleasures that I'll eat is one of those Quest bars, which it's not good,
right?
But it's not like horrible. Like there's worse things, because it's slightly keto friendly. I mean, it does have carbs in it, but just something like that, which it doesn't have seed oils, it doesn't have any of that junk, and that'll still mess me up.
Yeah. And what was really cool, and I appreciate, so the management at Jiffy Lube Live, I thank you, because one of the things they now have there is they had a water filtration electrolyte system where you could get free water. So they give you a plastic, well, you have to buy the canned water for $16, but then they give you this plastic cup, which for the remaining of the night, you could just get ice and go to this machine and get free water. So you kept hydrated, because it was hot. I mean, Saturday, it was hot. So Peggy and I stay hydrated that whole time, and it rob our pocketbook. So it was good. It was great that they literally have free water for people out there who don't want to drink, beer or liquor. So I was very appreciative of that. And I think between drinking the water and just being free from all those um, foods that create inflammation in the body, I've never felt better at a concert. And I was just like, wow. So I was like, we got to do this again. So it's exciting. You got a deer in your backyard, Ryan?
Yeah, it's really early for a deer, even though when this airs, it's going to be Friday night. But yeah, usually they don't come around for breakfast. And it came bounding across the yard as you were talking.
So when are you officially going to open up the Forsythe backyard habitat with petting zoo for the armadillo, the what else? You got a raccoon, you got deer,
Possum, well, there's squirrels, obviously, there's chipmunks, birds.
yeah, you got
Oh,
a
and
little,
turkeys.
yeah, you got a plethora of everything back there in that habitat of yours. So
I know. And they all love that bucket.
now you
Except
put
for
out
except for the armadillo. It doesn't mess with the bucket.
now I didn't even know armadillos existed in Tennessee, much least Nashville area.
I
Uh,
didn't until I saw it. I was like, is that an armadillo? I was like, what?
so did you research them? I know you. So did you research to find out how far? So are they prevalent in Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee's got their own the one that's in Tennessee. But I guess they probably all started from Texas and just migrated out. But I've heard they're even spotting them up in like Illinois now because it's so much warmer.
Wow. How big is it? Is it about 12 inches? I mean,
No, it's small, about the size of a possum or a large rabbit. Because that's what I thought it was at first, was a rabbit, like sort of humped over. But it was just sort of going around like through the grass like that. And I'm like, rabbits don't, they hop.
well, it's really cool that you got that much wildlife to be able to view. And talking about life, you posted, I think you posted on Tuesday of this week, a podcast that Dr. Ken Berry did. I'm going to bring up these.
Well, it was one of his YouTube videos.
So hopefully everybody can see what I'm bringing up right here. More importantly, I hope Brian can see it.
Yeah, I see it.
But Brian, do you remember enough of it to go over this, or do you want me to kind of?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was just talking about the top 10 things that contribute to heart disease. And Dr. Berry's sense of humor, when he started this, he just had the pie with no labels. And he was like, can you guess like what the biggest chunk would be? And then he put the labels up. But the thing that he was trying to stress was that when you go to your doctor, the first thing they do is they do your blood work, and then they look at the LDL, and they want to put you on a statin, and then they tell you to eat low fat, high fiber, whole grains, fruits and vegetables. It's a standard thing that comes out their mouth. And then then it shows this, and it's like there is an LDL mentioned on here, but it just mentions the size, the small LDL.
Right.
It doesn't mention the amount. So there, like the doctor makes it seem like the LDL is how you tell that you might get heart disease, but it's like it's not even in the top 10. The number one is type 2 diabetes, obviously, and the advice to eat low fat, whole grains and all that stuff is what causes type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
It's just absurd.
It is absurd. And then you got some doctors who will tell you that you just need to exercise more and to burn those calories, stay on a low calorie diet, low fat. And then you see the impact of inactivity on heart disease, and it's
the smallest one.
Yeah, it's the smallest one. And
Well,
go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say also, if you notice, type 2 diabetes, the next biggest is metabolic syndrome, hypertension, obesity. those four there in a row, they're all reversed by eating a low carb diet. And then of course smoking, has to be in there.
Right.
That's not anything to do with diet, but that's something that Dr. Berry's like, if you're smoking, you just got to stop that. But
Yeah.
then, then you got the high triglycerides, which that comes down if you go low carb. The overweight, your weight comes down if you go low carb. The small LDL particle thing, that, well, I don't know if it's flips or it's like, for me, my LDL is sky high, but it's the phenotype A,
Okay.
which is the big
Big
fluffy
fluffy ones. Right.
Yeah, so that's what mine are, and those are the good, because he refers to HDL as, they refer to that as the good the good cholesterol, and then most people refer to LDL as the bad, but actually Dr. Berry refers to it as the other good cholesterol. So
Right.
mine is the other good cholesterol.
Right.
But and then they got the, what is that? The high what is that?
The CRP, I was just trying to
Oh, that's the one that measures inflammation in the body.
okay.
So low carb will reduce inflammation because it's a uninflammatory diet.
So bottom line is, if you live a keto or a carnivore lifestyle and you truly live it, almost all these categories outside of the smoking, and I even believe it will cause you eternally not to want to smoke. I think there's something inside of you, your higher self, your spirit is saying, we don't need this, when it's when it's able to function in a state that it hasn't been used to, because it's really, your brain's been swimming in junk when you're following what they're telling you to do with the plant-based protein, low fat, limit your amount of eggs, all that stuff they tell you to do goes away. And I'm telling you, I'm proof from Saturday night how great I felt standing up all day. I still can't believe it. And I just wish everybody could experience that, because if you live a life like Brian does and live a carnivore lifestyle, your type 2 diabetes is going to be reversed, in my opinion. And all these other things will start to fall by the wayside as well. And just like Brian was sharing with us earlier about someone he's been helping along, and hopefully we'll get that person on and let them share their story. But everybody who I know truly does get on a low carb lifestyle, all these things that are factors kind of start to go away. And then you throw in intermittent fasting, and then it's like turbo boost for your health. And and for those of you who do smoke, I feel for you, but I got a feeling if you live the low carb lifestyle, you're going to be as addictive to the tobacco as you are now. And I think you would start to get the urge to not smoke as much, and then eventually just quit, because that's what your higher self is prompting you to go do.
Well, that's the thing too. Once if you've got enough, like if you want to get healthy and you have the motivation to want to like jump into something like this, it will change your perspective. And then the smoking, these things like smoking don't make sense anymore to you. Like I can attribute to like my sobriety, my early sobriety when I first got sober, and my very early journey on the getting healthy again. I remember I was smoking back then, and there came a point where it was like, this is stupid, because I'm trying to get in touch with my body and heal it, and you just got to look at it like, this is a gift. And if you want to treat it right, like how does smoking even make sense? It doesn't. It's well, it's a habit for one thing.
Right.
And it is addicting, because it was a tough one for me to give up. Even though I'd given up drugs and alcohol, that was the last one I had to let go of, and that was tough. And I mean, well, sugar was too. I mean, I can't say that was the last one because there was still sugar. It took me a while to get rid of that one, but yeah, it's all like in the change of perspective as you go along. When you start to respect your body, you have to look at stuff like that, you know?
That's so important, and you don't really realize how you're not listening to your body when you're addicted to sugar or these processed foods or cigarettes or alcohol. You're
Well, yeah, because it's not really a food or a necessity. It's it's just a habit and a want. It's like just your mind wanting it. It's not something you need. So it's different.
it becomes a comfortable habit, which eventually becomes an addiction that's very hard to break. I know it was for me. I've told the story before about being addicted to chewing tobacco. I couldn't go anywhere without driving without having a chaw and my spit cup right there in the console. It's where it was just a habit. As soon as I got in the car, that's what I would do. Um,
Mhm.
and then you realize once you break free of that habit, and and here's the cool thing, you don't even need to replace it. We think we have to replace a habit with something else, but it's okay just to be as well.
Well, yeah, yeah. It helps to break it initially, maybe to replace it with something to just
So
to fill that hole. But yeah, once you're actually free from it, it is a freedom. And like personally, I've felt that. It's like, oh man, I don't have to do that anymore. It's like such a relief.
well, not only is it's a relief, there's just something that's freeing from it in your spirit, but you also will realize you have more money to go do other things with when you're not having to constantly give it over to the tobacco companies. And you
Yeah.
know you're going to be able to have money to use for other things, like like a Brian Bowl at Five Guys Burgers. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
or whatever else, or a ribeye, or a prime rib, or
Yeah.
or
Well, yeah, it was funny because one of the last, like within the last few months of me smoking, one of the moments of clarity was this is when I was back when I used to still work at that pet clinic in LA. And for some reason I was riding my bike. I wasn't even driving my car at the time. Because I was living at this sober living house near the where I work. And I left work, I got on my bike, and I was hungry because it was like 1:30 or so in the afternoon. And I only had $5 left in my pocket. And I thought, should I stop and get something to eat? But then I realized I was out of cigarettes.
oh
And I was like, okay, eat or cigarettes? I ended up with the cigarettes. And that was a moment of clarity as well. It's
yeah,
like, what?
yeah,
Like, because I just recently gotten sober off the drugs and the alcohol, and then I realized this is the same thing. I'm still doing the same thing. you
yeah.
know, so it's
No,
crazy.
yeah, it is. But the cool thing is when you're able to go back and review how you were living and realizing those things that you probably in the time wouldn't admit, that they were a problem for you. But you look back and you go, man, they were so taken from me, taking away my health, taking away my money. And you'll start to realize that they truly do come to steal, kill, and destroy you. And until you have that moment of clarity where you're able to think, what am I doing? For me, I went cold turkey. I just threw the can in the trash can at the Holiday Inn at Harrisburg, PA, and I said, that's it, I'm done. And I have never looked back. That was probably in 93, 94. um
Yeah. Well, I did the same with the cigarettes. It was like somebody asked me for a cigarette at one point. I had like there was two left in the pack, and I said, "Here, just take them." And then I told myself, "That's it. I'm not buying anymore. I'm not." And that was the last time I did it.
yeah. And now I know that's hard for some people, um and I get it, but just know this: you're don't fight your body. Work with your body, because as you heard Brian say, when you start to get in tune with your body's going to lead you what it needs, and not what your addictive, egoic personality wants. The body's sitting there and literally will lead you into the food that you truly need. I know at times in my life, I have felt the need for like oysters, and it must be a reason that my body's craving some nutrient.
You need iodine.
Iodine. That's yeah, yeah. And that's the way I'm going to get it. Never again am I going to do the iodine in the bottle. I still got that taste in my mouth whenever I did that. But anyway, let's look at this study. I think Dr. Berry referenced this in his video podcast, and because this is what happens. And so I will include this in our show notes, because I encourage everyone, if you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you you're high LDL cholesterol and listen, we're going to need to put you on a statin drug, and you're truly living a low carbohydrate diet, you want to hand your doctor this finding, because they're going to realize that what they were taught and programmed from medical school is not true. So I don't know if y'all can read this here. I'll kind of read through it. Although there is an extensive literature on the efficacy of the low carbohydrate diet for weight loss and in the management of type 2 diabetes, concerns have been raised that the LCD may increase cardiovascular disease risk by increasing the level of low density lipoprotein cholesterol, LDL. We have assessed the value of LDL-C as a CVD risk factor, as well as the effects of the LCD on the other CVD risk factors. We have also reviewed findings that provide guidance as to whether statin therapy would be beneficial for individuals with a high LDL on an LCD, a low carb diet. So here's what they found. Bottom line is, recent findings have also confirmed how ineffective LDL-C is in predicting CVD risk.
Well, you know why? Because LDL-C is just calculated. It's not even like an actual number. Yeah, it's like it's a doctor being lazy and just looking at that number.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, but and Dr. Berry even says it. Sometimes it's because they're overworked and they're in a hurry, and or they just don't care.
So the bottom line is, hand this literature, this review to your doctor, because here's what it says. At their review of the literature indicates that statin therapy for both primary and secondary prevention of CVD is not warranted for individuals on an LCD with elevated LDL-C who have achieved a low triglyceride HDL ratio. So that's why we keep emphasizing here on this show that you have to be your own doctor. You have to go out there and educate yourself on sources that haven't been purchased by big pharma or big food. You're literally going to have to do your own research and listen to people who, as we said, who are living this out and who have the ability, as Dr. Berry does, to be able to scientifically back it up with studies that he's aware of, because that's what his passion is. His passion is to help heal people with a low carb diet and to spread that, just like Dr. Kiltz is and Dr. Joan Iflin. And there's more and more people who are stepping up and fighting the powers to be and say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. This does not work. It's ridiculous. It's living in the caveman days. It's not even living in the caveman, because the cavemen were carnivores.
Right.
And I think I sent you something too, Brian, over the last couple of days. It was a newspaper article that talked about in 1797.
Oh yeah.
That they also said basically a low carb. I think they didn't say low carb back then. Maybe they did, but it was the preventative diet to prevent people to get diabetes. And yet somehow we've done 180. I mean, we're talking about the year 1797. They had better resources at telling people what they should be doing than they do here in 2022.
Well, yeah, because big food wasn't around back then to make a profit off of it, or big pharma either.
Right. And
so the medical profession was to actually prevent.
yeah. and that's the sad part. I mean, back in back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, where you actually truly had a house doctor who actually went to your house to treat you, which makes a lot more sense. I mean, not for the doctor. I feel bad for them, but now they tell all the sick people to gather up in a waiting room and wait together, and then go see the doctor. And why is that? Because they figured out that the doctor could see a lot more patients if they all came to him and him instead of him or her going to them. But that's back when doctors truly did care and they knew their patients because they were neighbors and friends and family. And they were the ones that treated that community. It was an honor to be the doctor for that, Mayberry or Frederick or Fredericksburg. It was an honor to be that doctor and you knew your patients intimately because you did everything. You were basically a general practitioner. But now you go to a doctor and they've all been taught by the same playbook, which is to tell you to limit your amount of eggs, low fat, and let's get you on a statin.
Yeah, the playbook that was, well, not written by, but funded by Big Pharma and Big Food and the insurance companies.
Yeah, because
that's what's directing the doctor, not the doctor's knowledge of medicine. It's terrible.
Yeah, because their hands are tied too. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of debt they go in for going through college and then 7 years of medical school. So their whole 20s they have spent learning what it takes to become a doctor, and then they get out and then they have all these restrictions of what guidelines they have to follow. And then if the insurance company is going to keep paying their patients or paying them for seeing their patients who have their health insurance, then they better start doing what
they're told. Yeah,
what they're told. Basically, you're talking about the insurance really does control. They're like the mafia, the medical mafia, and telling what the doctors to prescribe, and if they're not prescribing enough of this, then they better get to it. And so it's really just, it's sad.
Well, there's a lot of story. Well, like what's his name? Dr. Kevin Stock, maybe even Paul Saladino. Well, Kevin Stock is a dentist, but he started out wanting to be a doctor, but halfway through he realized, and I've heard this story before from other people in the medical profession, their dream was to be a doctor, but then they realized, once you become a doctor, you don't have any say in anything anymore. And it's not about helping people. It's about providing the drugs for it's about helping the pharmaceutical companies make more money. So, that's why like Kevin Stock went into the dental thing, because he had more freedom as a dentist than a doctor. And it actually opened up, his time. He could do more research, and he's like, I don't know if you follow him, but he's got some great information. And being a dentist, he's into the whole anthropology of it, like the development of the mouth and how that's changed over the years because of diet and people didn't have crooked teeth in caveman days. Well,
Right.
Jaws were bigger for one thing, but also just the development of teeth and jaw, the angle of the jaw and all that stuff. Like in early childhood development, if the child is raised on, sugar and, a bad diet, it's going to affect their mouth as well as their health,
Well, it definitely impacts their development. I mean, it's so sad now to see so many young kids. Like, I can remember in elementary school that you rarely saw an obese kid. I mean, you had one or two of them, but they stood out. They weren't the norm. But you go to elementary school now and you see both boys and girls. They're overweight. And
the skinny ones are the minority now.
Right. Yeah. And that's because, we talked about that report that we showed, the White House nutritional report recommendations of, Lucky Charms and honey, what was it? Honey frosted wheat, whatever it was. But it's just crazy. I mean, the fact that they're promoting Lucky Charms, which is nothing more than sugar in a bowl, is just mind numbing to me, that this is what we've come to.
Well, and the only way they can justify it is that it's fortified with vitamins. And the problem is, you fortify a piece of like crap food like that, and your body doesn't absorb any of those. It's just words on a nutrition chart on the back of a box. It doesn't mean anything, any of that fortification.
Yeah, fortified cereal is like spraying an air freshener on poop.
Right, exactly. That's a good analogy.
So it's still poop, and it may pass the smell test for that 1 second, but it's still poop. So yeah, so don't fall into that.
Well, and the other thing behind that is the funding. What's her name? Nina Teicholz is really good at pointing that stuff out. You know, there'll be some paper that comes out about, you know, something like the LDL or whatever, and then she'll post, you know, she'll tweet about like the funding or the person that did the paper, and then you find out that they received $1 million from, like, you know, Nabisco or something, you know, or Coca-Cola. So it's always like, you know, it's the same old deal. You follow the money, and that's all this stuff you read that's in favor of all that, the junk is it's all funded by the junk.
Yeah, and you can follow it and follow it and follow it. It's all going to point back to the same corrupt organization, and that's who's paying, or that's who's setting the curriculum for the medical schools. That's who's setting the nutritional guidelines for our public school system and for our elderly care. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's the reason why that you look at the shelves of a Walmart or any other grocery store through the grocery section, that 95% of the food that you're going to see marketed on those shelves is nothing but crap. I mean, you literally got, you know, much like Brian was just talking about, you know, how a skinny kid at elementary school is kind of is abnormal, is the unique shape now. Finding a non-processed one item food at your grocery store is kind of the anomaly now as well. But all right, it's that time of the evening where we check in with Mr. Brian Schenker of the MeatTribe for those meat deals of the week and the pick of the week. So Brian, what do you have for us tonight?
Hey guys, all right. I've got one deal out of Carnes, Central PA, running through August 15th. Choice grade, boneless whole New York strips for $7.99 per pound. Food Lion has a deal going through the 16th. Choice grade boneless New York strips as well. These are the steaks, not the whole cut like Carnes, for $7.99 per pound. And then Harris Teeter has their New York strips on sale. It's funny how all these stores, they must have an unwritten rule of sending out the same sales for the cut of meat. But their rancher grade New York strip value pack is $7.99 per pound, and these are all boneless. The small pack is $8.49 per pound, and then the choice grade New York strip steaks are $8.99 per pound. And then Kroger, they've got a deal running through the 16th. Choice grade boneless ribeye steak in a family pack for $8.99 per pound. And then Giant Eagle has a deal running through the 17th. Certified Angus beef, bone-in, T-bone, or porterhouse steak value pack for $10.99 per pound. The hot pick of the week is the Kroger deal for the choice grade boneless ribeye steak family pack for $8.99 per pound.
Oh, you know, Brian's giving us a sneak peek.
He got him already.
I don't know. I'm seeing if I got that price. No.
How much did you pay?
$11.99.
Oh, that's not too bad.
All right, we'll go get some more this week.
I know. I was in there. They still have the briskets from this. I forget what day I went from last week. The briskets that were on sale for $1.99 a pound, but I have no more room in my freezer for another brisket, so I just had to pass it up.
Uh, that's a great buy though for $1.99. Gosh, that's so cheap.
I know. I haven't seen. Go ahead, Brian.
I would have nowhere to put it if I got it though.
I haven't seen it that cheap up this way. It's always like $3.99, $4.99 or more. So
Shanker, you and I may have to go get a U-Haul truck and go down to Brian's and load up on the Kroger briskets, and then be on the side of the road there on Route 50 and selling briskets for $3 a pound.
oh yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us, giving us those deals of the week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Friday night.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
All right. We'll see you.
Yeah.
There's one thing that you can do, which is what Brian does every day and Brian follows a 1 meal a day intermittent fasting lifestyle. But here's the one thing that he'd always will share with you that's been a beneficial for him in his energy levels, boosting his immune system, and overall good health. What bit of advice would you give someone who's made it this far along in the show, Brian?
Oh, of course, I would say eat your meat.
And that's exactly what I'm going to go do. So thanks again for everybody for tuning in with us this Friday night. We'll look forward to seeing you next Friday night. And in the interim, stay safe, stay well, and stay out of the hospital. See ya. Yeah, it is a bit. One of the things I don't. Go ahead, Brian. Am I still here?
You're muted. I hope that's not me again.
No, that's you again.
Can you hear me? Oh no. Hang on. Let me make sure. Quit.
Can you hear me now? Check. Nope. He's gone. He's back.
Video settings. Oh wait, I need audio settings.
Can you hear me now? Check.
I hear you now.
All right.
I get that sound enhancer on my laptop, and sometimes I don't know what it is about it. It'll just
automatically just mute me, huh?
Yeah, it just mutes all the sound from me. I don't know what's going on with that thing, but I have to turn it off. But at least now I know what it is. I'm not scrambling for like 15 minutes trying to figure it out. The what do you call it? The you're gonna have to edit this because it's gonna take me a second to remember what it's called. It's